Hey guys, I'm meteorologist Leslie Hudson. Thank you so much for joining us again tonight on our ongoing coverage of Tropical Storm Barry. Time now is about 8:12 here in Orlando Eastern Standard Time. It's about 7:12 in Central Time Zone, where of course Barry continues to be wreaking havoc across many parts of the South and the Gulf Coast region in particular. The state of Louisiana. So in case you've been out and about and have not been up to date on the latest, you probably have been keeping up to date with Barry. Let me do a quick overview of what's been going on. And so far, about 2 o'clock today, it was at one time Hurricane Barry, very briefly, made landfall very near intercoastal city in Louisiana. Right after it came on shore, it was downgraded to a tropical storm, and we've been talking about the ragged structure of Barry, not a typical, very well-organized hurricane that you generally see more well-organized with thunderstorms wrapping around the entire center. There was several mesovortices that were showing up on the radar this morning, and was confusing for a lot of folks that were tracking the swirls in these rotations and was wondering if it actually made landfall earlier in the day. But the National Hurricane Center officially making landfall around 2 o'clock, our first hurricane landfall of the 2019 season. So what I want to get doing is just answer a couple of questions if you have any tonight. A lot of folks I know are trying to enjoy their weekend. There is still a lot of weather in the Gulf Coast that we've got to watch tonight. So as you can see, the radar is pretty busy across a big chunk of the southeast, and there is big storms out in the Gulf of Mexico. So I'm going to toggle on our pointer here because I wanted you guys to see these feeder bands. You see these right here? These have wind and rain packed inside of them. So not only are they going to bring in tropical downpours, but they've also got winds in the neighborhood of 50 to 60 miles an hour. Just within this last hour, there was a sustained wind around 55 miles an hour in south central Louisiana. And as the rain bands rotate on shore like this, we're going to see some of those heavier bands become probably potentially an issue. We're still dealing with the storm surge as well, and the rotation will be generally like this. So we got to really watch these feeder bands. New Orleans getting some heavy downpours. They're also still getting a bit of a storm surge as well. There has been some severe weather in the state of Louisiana today as well. Thankfully, we have not seen a lot of that flesh out, but there has certainly been some of that. And the concern being how much more will they get tonight? Hopefully not too much more. Let me take those lines off, and then let me show you some other things. So if you again have any questions you want to know about Barry and what's been going on, ask them here, and I'll do my best to answer them. I'm looking over my shoulder to see if there's anyone that's got any questions so far. We got a whopping 6 people watching, so I appreciate you guys hanging with me and watching tonight, of course, as we get you updated on the latest. So I'll show you what's going on. So here's a look at a loop. This shows the motion of Barry and the ragged structure of this system. A lot of times when we're talking about tropical cyclones or storms or hurricanes, they're vertically stacked like a deck of cards, just straight up in the atmosphere. But when that deck of cards is off shoveled or goes to either the left or to the right, the storm structure itself is very vulnerable. And that's what happened with Barry. So there was some dry air that was kind of seeping in on the top of that deck of cards, and that kind of shoveled off that level, what would be a normal vertically stacked system, this general orientation. So, and the actual center of circulation was elongated. It was elliptical. It wasn't round like a circle or a ball. So all of those factors played into what was a very disorganized tropical storm, and then eventually hurricane, and now it's back down to a tropical storm. But I don't want people to put their guard down. I really am doing this Facebook Live because I want people to know that the risk is still there for severe weather, even tonight, because on those rain bands and those feeder bands I was talking about, there can be brief spin-ups of tornadoes, and that's usually pretty common. We have seen some tornado warnings already today in parts of southern Mississippi, southern Louisiana, and southern Alabama. And we're still talking about 1 million people at a slight risk and about 13 million people at a marginal risk for the severe weather as we head through tonight. So make sure that if you're in southern Mississippi or southern Louisiana, you still are keeping your app handy. You can get all of the watches and warnings there. And we'll continue to track this system as we head through tonight and into tomorrow. Current winds. So this is the current sustained winds. And look at that, only 14 mile per hour sustained wind across parts of of Louisiana, and even less across the Florida Panhandle, 5 to 10 miles an hour through parts of Mississippi. Those are sustained winds, but remember on that small wind field where those winds are around 65 miles an hour, there has been reported sustained winds in that field. The tropical storm field on Barry is very large, so from the center of circulation, the tropical storm force winds extend out about 175 miles. So you got to remember, not all the winds, they go down exponentially from the center of the storm. So let me let's see if I can grab my little measuring rule stick here and we can talk about it. So the center, again, right about here and all the way out here, 175 miles, right about there, if I can get to the 5, right there, tropical storm force winds extend out. And then also on this direction, about 175 miles, tropical storm force winds extend out to the north-south on all quadrants. So north, south, east, west. But as you get further away from the center, those winds exponentially go down. So in parts of Gulfport, Mississippi, your sustained winds, or your gusts rather, are probably around 35, 40 miles an hour. But in the center there, where it's currently moving, the winds are in the neighborhood of 65 miles an hour. So don't be fooled, even though it looks relatively ragged, there is still a burst of convection here that I'm seeing tonight. So look at this right here. Let me grab the drawing stick right here. Right there is a big burst of thunderstorms that are still going to be firing tonight. So heavy rain in there. All of that moving towards the north, and then actually Barry's expected to pick up its forward speed as we head through tonight. It's moving at about 8 miles an hour right now and expected to get even faster tonight and tomorrow. And that we will do. We'll take the fast moving system because it's the slow movers that can put down these tropical rains that can really be a big trouble. So, hey, and now I'm getting a couple of folks watching. Okay, wait a minute. I got a question here, and I got to put my readers on. So I have a great question. So how far do you get future forecasts for this app? Okay, so the Leviathan's asking me that. Or is it Leviathan? I'm not sure. So I'm not sure exactly what you mean. Are you talking about the future forecast in terms of rain, or are you talking about future forecasts in terms of what it's going to look 5 days from now? So kind of can you re-ask me your question, and I'll try and answer that. I'm not sure exactly what you mean, but I'll come back to that. So ask me, I'm not if you're talking about the app in terms of rain forecasts, future raincasts, or if you're talking about something else. So in the meantime, here's a look at the storm surge product. This is the potential for the flooding. Again, the inundation. Inundation is basically freshwater flooding, to put it simply. We put a fancy word to it, but that's basically what it is. And as a tropical cyclone comes onto land, it pushes a wall of water with it. An analogy that I used in Facebook earlier today is imagine the ground being a piece of sandpaper, and then the hurricane or the tropical storm is a giant cotton ball. So as that storm rolls over that land, it creates friction in the atmosphere, and it creates drag. Well, that drag can create, in some cases, like I mentioned, short-lived tornadoes. It can also create crosswinds or vertical wind shear at the mid-levels, upper levels of the atmosphere, and that can create rotation, or we can see in some cases straight line wind damage. So it's all in play. All of those factors are there, and besides the fact that you've got this wall of water coming on shore as well. So a lot of factors go into whether it comes in as a depression, a storm, or a hurricane. Of course, weaker hurricanes or stronger tropical storms have less of an impact than, say, a Category 4 Cat 5 hurricane, but they're still dangerous, you guys. And there's still mandatory evacuations ongoing in Louisiana. About 12 people were rescued earlier today, by the way, in parts of southern Louisiana for folks that did not follow mandatory evacuation orders. So it's still a serious situation through tonight. We want people to be aware of that. Okay, wait a minute. I got to put my glasses back on. I got a bunch of questions here. Okay, like future rain on the radar, prediction of the weather. Okay, so are you asking? I have a great question. So how do you get future forecasts for this app? So that is something that's going to be in the pipeline, and we will be releasing that feature soon. It's not something that we're going to be doing yet, but there is you can see, of course, trends on the radar over the last course of an hour, but future forecast, which is what I think you're asking about, that is in the pipeline, and stick around. That I don't know the release date on that, but I know our developers are working on it. Okay, so back to Barry. Here's a look at the winds as we head through tonight and tomorrow. The GFS model showing the wind gusts. Look how elongated this system is, by the way. Again, just a real sloppy tropical system. See how the orientation here is from north to south, and in a well-organized tropical system, they'd be all around. Those winds would be all around the center of circulation. So good news is this is not an intense tropical storm, but it's still a tropical storm, has a punch, has the potential for potentially very dangerous flooding and isolated short-lived severe weather. So our computer model tonight through the overnight shows those heavy rains moving through central Louisiana. And on the current forecast track, it looks like, okay, I got your question answered. Okay, sounds good. It looks like the center of Barry will be in Arkansas sometime tomorrow, and then back, kind of taking a curve more towards the north and to the northeast, back towards the Ohio River Valley. So it'll be interesting to see how all of this plays out in the next couple of days. Some of the discussions from meteorologists and forecasters have been how much will Barry be leaving a footprint up to the north, and we could see torrential flooding. We've already seen that across the deep south, but we could also see that in the Midwest and in the Ohio River Valley. So if you live in that area, you need to keep advice of the forecast until Barry gets much weaker, which will be days from now, probably 5 or 6 days. We'll still be talking about Barry. The potential model for rain, great feature. Guidance model, not set in stone. We do like to show these to you to give you guidance on how much rain is possible. How do we get these numbers? Lots of ways. So weather balloons are launched every day across the country. When there's a landfalling tropical cyclone, National Weather Service ups the balloons that go up in the atmosphere. So they're taking soundings, they're taking little bits of the atmosphere, sampling them, and putting them all back into a supercomputer and spitting out projected forecasts based on the sampling of the atmosphere to the north, to the south, to the east and the west, all around Barry. So these numbers are based on guidance profiles from those forecasts, from those soundings, they're called. So this is a good guide. This is the, I believe I have the GFS. GFS is a really good workhorse in tropical forecasts for winds, rain, all kinds of cloud coverage, all kinds of profiles. So I believe this is the GFS that I've got on here. So the potential between now and next week, again, cumulatively, you're not going to be still getting rain on Wednesday in Louisiana, but you could potentially be getting up to 8 inches of rain in Baton Rouge between now and tomorrow, and maybe even part of Monday. And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, north and east, 5 inches of rain possible in Memphis, about 4.5 possible in Oxford, and then we've got Mississippi, and about 4.5 inches, just a little more than that in Little Rock. So still a significant amount of rain possible as the tropical storm rains itself out. As of 8 p.m. local Eastern Standard Time, 7 Central, the winds were sustained at 60 miles an hour, 30.7 north, 92.7 west, movement north-northwest at about 8 miles an hour, and the pressure up to 998. I think around right before landfall, it was in the 980s, maybe the upper 970s, I don't recall. But there's definitely room for this system to still, again, put some wind down. There's already been power outages, lots of power outages across Louisiana. Could see that through parts of Arkansas tomorrow as well, and maybe even some other spots as Barry continues to push towards the east. And there's the long-range forecast, takes us into Tuesday, again, winds around 25 miles an hour. All right, so let me show you our forecast product. This one, again, showing the stalled feature. This stalled front, by the way, sometimes can act like a cap in the atmosphere to limit the projection or the movement of a storm. But in this case, it's actually a drawing mechanism. It's going to help draw Barry northward. There's also 2 ridges of high pressure on either side of the cyclone, and it's going to act like a channel and kind of just push Barry northward. And we've already seen that in these latest runs. Barry's picked up its forward speed, which is good news. The faster it moves, the quicker it gets out of there, the less likely for torrential flooding. But flooding is a big problem right now. Don't think that it's not. It is a massive problem in parts of southern Louisiana due to the storm surge and due to these heavy rains that are coming in on those tropical rain bands. So let me show you the radar one more time. And we got about 8 people in here. Not many, but that's okay. I'm glad you guys are sticking with me. And I'm going to show you the radar one more time with Barry. And then looks like I have no other questions, you guys. I can't believe it. All right, well, if you come up with a question, let me know. Let me show you something real quick here. Look at this. I'm going to zoom in because this is a big old feeder band right here, right over New Orleans. Look at that thing. So this is heavy, heavy, heavy rain. I'm going to put a query on it and we'll see what it's got. But right here is called a feeder band or tropical rain band. These are the ones that I'm telling you that not only packed big time rain, but also they have wind inside of that rain band. So let's see what this is going to query at. So this has got 1 3/4 inches of rain an hour that's falling. Big, big, heavy, heavy rain here. Just to the south is about 1.5 inches of it. So that's it. This is going to take about 2 hours to rotate out. So right there, you're already talking about 3 inches, maybe more, in just this one feeder band that's over New Orleans and parts of Violet. It's just to the east of La Belle. So the concern is real, you guys, that there's still going to be some big flooding tonight as Barry pulls northward. So let me clear this off. And we'll broaden our picture out one more time. And I do see a couple more feeder bands down here. This that you see here is a conglomerate of just big tropical downpours. You can detect the feeder bands on a tropical cyclone relatively easy if you know what you're looking at. So this, again, this is a feeder band, this is a feeder band, this is a feeder band, and this is a feeder band. So and there's more that are going to be rotating around the larger circulation of Barry. So any of those squalls, as they come on shore, have that potential to put down the flash flooding concern. There's half the state of Louisiana, by the way, is under a flash flooding risk. So it's really, really heavy duty rain over the next several hours. Okay, you guys, that's all I got. It is 8:28. Gonna just do this quick update. If you got a question and you see this stream later down the road tonight or tomorrow, shoot me a question and I'll be answering them. I'll be doing a special fast forecast tomorrow morning for you guys for Sunday, and then I'll be back tomorrow as well to do another special edition of the fast forecast. Any severe weather with Barry, I'll be here tracking that for you as well. Thank you guys for sticking around, the few of you that are here. I really appreciate it. I know it's 8:30, people got things to do, so I appreciate you being with me tonight, and I hope if you are in Louisiana or the Gulf Coast, you're staying safe, and we are thinking about you.